Hello, YouTube, and welcome to today's episode of Tomorrow's Talk Today. I'm your host, Rachel Bresnahan, and today I am joined by panelists Gretchen Wiggins, Harper Melton, and Gibson McClung. On today's episode, we'll be discussing Valentine's Day and everything that surrounds it. Some researchers believe that Valentine's Day started with the Romans, while others believe it originated from a pagan holiday called Lupercalia. While the history is open for debate, the only thing we know for certain is that stores like Walmart, Dollar General have started selling popular heart-shaped boxes and boxes of chocolates and iconic life-size teddy bears. More about that later. Our guests today have analyzed a plethora of media on the topic of Valentine's Day, including podcasts, blogs, videos, and interviews. They also have unique lived experiences to help inform their opinions. To begin our discussion, let's take a quick look at a clip from a YouTube video titled Valentine's Day is the Worst.
Anthony here for D News, and for a day that's supposed to celebrate love, Valentine's Day sure does seem to cause a lot of problems if you look at the numbers. A 2004 study showed that couples are 2.5 times more likely to break up during the weeks leading up to and right after Valentine's Day. AshleyMadison.com, that site that helps married people have extramarital affairs, actually sees a 439% increase in signups the day after Valentine's Day, with most of the signups being married women. And divorce filings are 40% higher right after Valentine's Day, too. What is the deal?
So, what is the deal? What do you believe are the underlying causes that lead to this increase in breakups on Valentine's Day?
I think a lot of it has to do with the increased pressure of the media has portrayed Valentine's Day in this certain light, and if people don't perform in that certain way, it can cause a lot of strain and can sometimes translate to your partner doesn't love you this much because they're not doing Valentine's Day right.
Absolutely.
Also, looking at the media too, for that pressure, you see other people getting all these certain gifts or extravagant things, and you're like why am I not getting that? And I think the pressure kind of leads up on that too, because it's pressure between you and your significant other for doing the same thing, but not everybody can do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree that media may play a part into this, definitely, because of the fact that there's all this pressure on how you're supposed to treat someone, and does it really show the effort that you put into the relationship? And I feel it is just a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the impacts of the media with Valentine's Day?
I would say a big thing is obviously stuff like the movies, these big grand gestures, let's say something like Wolf of Wall Street, how Margot Robbie's character walks in and there's just a room full of rose petals everywhere. Stuff like that, the movies set those giant expectations for people to follow, and obviously no one's going to go into a room and just throw a ton of rose petals in there realistically, because maybe someone doesn't actually want that. Maybe their partner doesn't want that because they have to clean that up afterwards. Stuff like that. It's just these huge expectations that people can't follow up on, and the media is just blowing that out of proportion.
Absolutely, right. Absolutely. So we can all agree that the media portrays Valentine's Day differently than how before we go to break, I want to ask one final question. How do these underlying causes and media portrayals affect people's mental health?
I think it goes along with the same thing of if people don't act in the same way as they do on TV, then it translates to your person doesn't love you this much because they're not doing this. And I think that can take a big toll on mental health because it makes you feel unlovable, like they don't care about you that much.
And absolutely. I feel it can really show someone's true colors.
Right.
And kind of going off what Gretchen said, seeing those things on social media and things like that, it kind of messes with your mental health in a way that like, am I supposed to like have my Valentine's Day like this? Like, am I supposed to be portrayed like this? Which you don't need to be, because you're your own person and you can do what you want. But I think it kind of messes with you because you see so many influencers and celebrities doing like certain things, and you're like, am I supposed to be doing that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you all for sharing your thoughts. When we come back, our panelists and I will discuss Valentine's Day bitterness. Those of you at home, stay tuned for that interesting conversation. We will be right back.
Do you need B-roll for that next comm class project? If so, we've got that B-roll. Are you not Ryan Fletcher and you haven't attended every event? We've got that B-roll. Are you not Cole Pello and haven't taken photos of every event? We've got that B-roll. Do you need shots of students eating pizza or getting their Starbucks? What about some building signs? We've got that B-roll. Do you need shots of students pressing buttons? What about doing the other things that look techie? We've got that B-roll. Do you need shots of fall on campus or students making random mugs? We've got that B-roll. Do you need a shot of Taylor Reilly IV being inaugurated as the president of Longwood? No! That's not B-roll. That's too specific. Do you need random B-roll shots with the tripod left in the background? What you don't like about the tripod in the background? I just left it there and it was great. Next time you have a comm class project, remember, we've got that B-roll for the low, low price of $19.99. You can have access to all our library of B-roll. Call 434-395-2384 today before they sell out.
Keep playing. This is the Gretchen.
Rugby is power. From the scrum, to lineouts, to tackling, it promotes determination and rewards hard work.
Rugby is acceptance of any and every body type.
Rugby is teamwork. It is building a family and supporting them no matter what.
When we step onto the pitch, nothing else matters except for the game that we love.
Rugby is power. Power for women, power for the team, power for Longwood.
Welcome back. Next, we're going to be focusing on the bitterness associated with Valentine's Day. I believe we have a clip from a YouTube video talking about this. Let's take a quick look.
It may set off depressive thoughts. For those who are single, Valentine's Day can set off a stream of lonely thoughts and feelings. If you're feeling lonely and desire a partner, Valentine's Day may not help with those feelings. Not only are stores lined with little reminders about romance and love, but then you're reminded about the holiday online too. If possible, avoid comparing yourself to others and know that you don't need a partner to feel happy. Call a friend, a sibling, set up a Galentine's Day party. Have a self-care day. Valentine's Day doesn't need to be all about romance. It can simply be about love too, for yourself or others.
To start us off, I would like to hear from Harper. Why do you believe that we can be so easily filled with bitterness when seeing couples celebrating Valentine's Day?
I think it stems back to when you're in middle school and high school, because like in elementary school, everybody gets like a Valentine's, and when you move to middle school and high school, it gets more like individualized. So like only some get carnations, some get like the boxes of chocolate or like the teddy bear, and I think that kind of stems for when you're older and you see people celebrating Valentine's Day, and I feel like it's a mix of like jealousy and bitterness, because you want to have that, but at the same time, maybe that time's just not right for you or not yet. But I think it kind of stems just from when you're younger and just how it portrays when you're growing up.
Absolutely. Thanks, Harper. This next question is for anyone willing to share. Has anyone had an experience where they felt a bitterness towards Valentine's Day? And if so, did that impact your mental health?
I don't know that bitterness is the right word to explain it, but there's been Valentine's Days where I've been single, and it kind of makes me feel left out because everyone's posting on social media about all the things that they're doing, and I'm just like at home. So like it can give me a little bit of FOMO sometimes, just not doing anything on Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. Yeah, and one thing I totally remember is like back in, this is kind of a personal experience for me, back in middle school and high school, I was asked out a lot as a joke. Like, people would ask me out as a joke all the time. So I understand where that bitterness can come from when feeling like no one loves you.
Yeah.
So what do you all think about Valentine's Day in classrooms? Does it have a positive or negative effect on the students with the boxes and leaving notes and all that?
So my mom is a kindergarten teacher, so I've heard a lot about this topic. I don't like the idea of having Valentine's Day in classrooms because it sets up this expectation of like everyone has to give you something, and if they don't, then that's not fair. And I don't think that's a good lesson to learn later on in life, because I think that leads to the whole bitterness thing, because when you don't get a Valentine, it makes you feel unimportant and unappreciated.
Yeah,
So-
no, absolutely. Gibson, what are your thoughts?
I would have to agree with Gretchen. I mean, that setting that young age that like everybody's expected to get something on Valentine's Day, and when you get to stuff like middle school and high school, you actually start dating people. I mean, it's just, you know, there's classrooms where like, or at least in my high school, we had this thing where you could buy your significant other like a little present or like candy or something, and like they'd bring it into your classroom and present it to the entire class. And like some kids would obviously feel left out because they were just like, oh wow, where my significant other doesn't love me enough to like spend the $2 to just get a rose and give me some candy in classroom. And like I would love for like someone to just announce that like someone loves me in class. So I think those expectations are set pretty high when you're younger.
Absolutely. And Harper, so what are your thoughts on like being alone on Valentine's Day? Like, what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts on like Galentine's Day and trying to spend it with friends rather than someone that like you may be dating or in a relationship with?
I think Valentine's Day is a great like way to like celebrate time with your friends, because at the end of the day, like they're the ones supporting you and helping you through like life in general, and like in the classroom and like outside of like, for example, for like sports and stuff. Like my teammates are like some of my best friends because they help me like get through like practice every day or getting through like school in general. But I think Valentine's Day is kind of unrecognized, and it should be more recognized in a way, because people, those are the people that are with you every day and help like make you become a better person.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. When we come back, we will shift our conversation towards the iconic heart-shaped boxes of chocolate and life-size teddy bears. You won't want to miss that.
The motto of the department for years has been, we make the world through words.
All the professors are very supportive. I know that I can go with them with any questions about anything.
They're amazing and they're genius, and you would be amazed at the things that they've done and the places they've been and the things that they know.
You gain really neat skills that can take you in a whole range of directions, and it really allows you to have a wide array of possibilities when you leave Longwood. Teachers are very creative in how they teach, and we try to teach creative approaches to problem solving. So in our writing classes, often you will do things like build Legos and then have to describe how you did it so that you learn how to write instructions that other people can read. We talk about great ideas, and so classes are just really fun to sit around and talk about the meaning of life and talk about what's super important in the world today.
There is a level of being able to sit down and just listen that is required to be able to do that work well. And with that, listening means being sensitive to people's backgrounds. We make the world through words, through those sensitivities, and coming together as an English community.
You learn how to put your best effort into something to get the best back from it. I started out wanting to write books, and now I'm working with the athletics department, working with ESPN.
I had dropped out for financial reasons, and while I was sitting at home just working, trying to make some money, I got an email from an English professor, Dr. Hetty. It was a deeply personal moment, but it really did feel like the English department cared about me and about the students.
I want to begin this final discussion with Gibson. If someone isn't able to afford a $100 dinner on Valentine's Day, what are some other alternatives that are still meaningful but also within a reasonable price range?
I think a great thing that you can do on a budget is cook them dinner. And I think it's a lot more meaningful than just going out and buying $100 worth of dinner. Yeah, sure, it's grandioso buying like $100 steak for somebody, but it's a lot more meaningful to somebody that you actually sit down, take the time, and cook somebody dinner in front of them. I mean, you can also do it together. Something like where you go to a restaurant and you're just sitting there chit-chatting, but when you're cooking something with your significant other, your partner, you're spending that time together, learning about each other, actually cooking, and you're at home, so you can talk about things that you probably wouldn't want to talk about at a restaurant or normally talk about at a restaurant.
Awesome. Thanks, Gibson. So we have a clip to show. So...
According to Wallet Hub's annual survey, lovers are expected to spend $27.4 billion on Valentine's Day gifts this year. Breaking that number down, the average amount spent per shopper is nearly $200. And if you're used to dinner on a budget, you may shell out a little more cash in the name of Cupid. The average amount couples spend on Valentine's Day dinner is just over $100.
Love has no cost.
Tawanda Didell sets up a table every year with beloved baskets.
The first thing they say is, what are your price? I said, well, for number one, there's no price on love.
Her sales prices come from the heart.
It's stressful around Valentine's Day. Or they want your beautiful $79, $80 bouquet flowers. And you can't afford that.
For Didell, it's not about the gifts.
Just call somebody and say, hey, I love you today. You don't even know how much that means. It's not about the dollar.
All right, Gretchen Harper, this question is for you two. Valentine's Day has been marked toward women as the perfect way to celebrate Valentine's Day. If you are not in a relationship, what are your thoughts on this alternative, and why do you believe it is being so popular and promoted?
I like the idea of Valentine's Day because, like Harper said earlier, it's a good way to spend some time with your friends if you don't have a partner on Valentine's Day. I think that it's being marketed this way. Originally, I think it was a way to empower women because historically women have been treated like they need a man in their life or somebody else to take care of them. And so Valentine's Day is a good way to kind of do your own thing. And I also think that it might be marketed this way because they want to make more money off of people for Valentine's Day because people are buying a lot of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Harper?
Just kind of going with what I said before. I think it's a really good thing that should be promoted, but kind of seeing Gretchen's side of it, for the money promotion, I feel like it should, it is showing like that, but I feel like it shouldn't be showed like that because I think it's a great thing to be presented with for people to celebrate, but yeah.
Awesome. Before we end this episode, I'd like to ask one more question for each of you to answer. What type of Valentine's Day gift would be the most meaningful to you?
Most meaningful gift to me would probably be, honestly, something homemade. I feel like going and buying something store-bought is great, and buying something expensive is great. But at the end of the day, if you make something homemade for somebody, it's going to go a lot more. It's going to have a lot more meaning to you because you know that person actually put a lot of time and effort into creating something for you. So I would say something homemade.
Absolutely. I feel like it can be so much more personalized and more shows how much you really love them and stuff. Right. So, yeah. I'd like to thank you all for joining me. This has been quite the discussion, but that's all we have for today. I'd like to thank my panelists for their opinions and everyone behind the scenes for making this program possible. Be sure to subscribe to Longwood COMM Studies YouTube to get notifications when the next episode is streaming. I'm your host, Rachel, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching Tomorrow's Talk.